Hi everyone, I just wanted to quickly check in and run through the assignments for this semester just to give you an idea of how they all fit together. So I'm in the all assignments section of Blackboard, and you'll see there are some useful resources up the top, and then each of the assignments are numbered assignment 4, assignment 5, assignment 6. This relates to the entries. And you also have a submission of all remaining parts. So essentially what you're doing this semester is, you'll recall in semester 1 you did entries 1, 2 and 3, which were assignment 1, 2 and 3. So in semester 2 you're doing assignments 4, 5 and 6, which are entries 4, 5 and 6. What happens then at the end of the semester, and I'll talk through the rubric in a minute, is that all the entries and all the assignments are put together from semester 1 and semester 2 to create a portfolio. So that's why the title of the assignments is portfolio. So there are some kind of guiding resources here in terms of teaching portfolios, but what I wanted to do was just run through the rubric as an example. Now, for example, assignment 4. So something that's different to last semester is that for each of the entries, all of the assignments for this semester have the same rubric. So you're not using separate rubrics for all of the different assignments. So that's why I sent out the rubric via email when I released the module last week. So if we just have a look for a moment at the teaching portfolio rubric, essentially what you're doing is you're doing the same as you did last semester in terms of the self-assessment. Now I'll come back to these two at the top in a moment, but what I wanted to just draw your attention to is, again, if I'm looking at assignment entry 4, then these are the self-assessment criteria. So it is only one for each entry. If you again, if you think back to last semester, you had a whole rubric for each of the entries, whereas this one rubric serves all of the entries. So my entry 4, if I was writing that, all I'd need to be doing is just making sure that I'm essentially meeting 1 or 2 of the well achieved or the achieved in terms of these various criteria within it. And you can see here there was a question around why is it curriculum design, whereas it's named as in Blackboard, it's got reviewing and writing learning outcomes. That's simply the way that it's been labelled previously with Marion setting up the program. That's how she chose to name them. But essentially, assignment 4 here relates to assignment 4 in the rubric. So those are the criteria for assignment 4. Now, just again to go through here, up the top, you'll see that there's an addition of an introduction to your teaching context and your teaching philosophy. And then there's this bit of explanation here, which is saying that you resubmit your entries 1 to 3. So this is the work that you did in semester 1. So in other words, you had feedback on the entries that you wrote in semester 1 from your group facilitator. So you may need to revisit those entries. You may need to rework bits and pieces in terms of the feedback. So you need to resubmit those, and which are listed here: teacher effects eternity, the CAT, and the reader response. Okay, so that will come to a maximum word count of 4,500. So they kind of sit in the middle. What you do then is you go back to you put an introduction and a teaching philosophy then at the start of your teaching portfolio. So let me just take a step back here. Okay, so this is what you'll be doing. You can see week 13. You submit these two in week 13. So let's just park that for a moment. Let's just say we've come to the due date for entry 4, which is listed here as February 19. Okay, 15th of February 2019. Okay, so when you are completing that assignment, you go through, you do your self-assessment here, and you can see here it's saying, so first submit week 5, so that's the date that's indicated. Then in bearing in mind that you're going to put this as part of an overall portfolio, all of that overall portfolio with entries 1, 2 and 3, introduction, teaching philosophy, 4, 5 and 6, conclusion, is all submitted in week 13. Okay, so the process, in other words, for this semester is week 5, write entry 4 assignment, submit it with the self-assessment criteria for week 5. Then you'll get feedback from your group facilitator. Then we move to entry 5, first submit in week 9. So again, you write the assignment, you get your feedback, you give your self-assessment feedback, you get your group facilitator feedback, and then in week 13 is the big week. Okay, so in week 13, you're resubmitting entries 1, 2 and 3. You're writing an overall introduction and teaching context, so the introduction and teaching philosophy to the overall portfolio, as well as putting in entries 4 and 5, which reflect the feedback that your group facilitator may have written. Plus, you're writing entry 6, which is a short entry around reflecting on your participation in the online environment, and a conclusion. Okay, so if you think about it, again, just going over what the requirements are. Okay, so for the immediate, in terms of the semester progressing, week 5 is the first task that is due, is the first assignment that is due, week 5, entry 4. Just focus on that for a moment. The next thing coming up then, the next assignment that's due, entry 5, is due in week 9. Okay? Then you will have received feedback on entry 4, entry 5. Then leading towards week 13, you are preparing your introduction, teaching philosophy, pulling out again entries 1 to 3, adding on entries 4 and 5, writing entry 6, and writing a conclusion. And all of those bits and pieces then are due in week 13. So if you go back to the all assignments, submission of all remaining parts for the final portfolio. Okay, and again, this has all the elements that you would need to include for that final portfolio. It's all based on the one rubric. Everything goes into one document and is submitted to Turnitin. Okay, so I hope that may be a bit clearer. Essentially, all you're doing is going from the due dates for the portfolio, and if you think about it in terms of you've written half of the portfolio already in semester 1, the remaining entries 4, 5 and 6 will be written this semester. They all go together, front-loaded with an introduction and teaching philosophy, and then finish then with the conclusion, and those other elements, introduction, teaching philosophy, and entry 6 and conclusion, are all written in week 13. Do let me know if there are any other questions, and I'm happy to answer those. Okay, and best of luck.